TomoNews presents Big Dogs.
Hero dog rescues best friend from raging river rapids. Or does he? In an epic video uploaded on January 17th, a game of fetch between two dogs gets out of hand and looks like it could end badly. Two Labrador retrievers, a yellow and a black one, were playing fetch with their owner by what appears to be some pretty gnarly river rapids. When the stick got thrown a bit too far, the black lab bounded ahead as the yellow lab hung back. As he tried to gather himself, the black lab slipped, careening down the rocks with the relentless rapids threatening to sweep him away to death. Realizing his buddy was in serious danger, the yellow lab jumped into action, grabbing the stick and using every last bit of jaw strength in him to pull his buddy back in. Holding onto that stick for dear life, the yellow lab manages to yank his friend back onto the rocks to safety. What an awesome friend, and a hero. Or is he? Watch the video again. How dangerous do you think those raging river rapids really are, given that their owner seems fine to play fetch over there? And is that really rushing water, or just a creek with a cool stream? And does it look to you like the yellow lab is trying to rescue his friend, or just steal his stick and claim victory? After examining the replay, we here at TomoNews reverse our call. Seems that yellow lab's just a jerk going after his buddy's stick. Dogs might be man's best friend, but when it comes to each other, good luck.
Heroic dog saves owner's life. 2017 started out horribly for one Michigan man who spent New Year's Day injured and helpless in the snow. Luckily, it was man's best friend to the rescue. At 10:30 p.m. on December 31st, Bob ran out to get another log for his fire when he slipped and fell on the ice, breaking his neck. Unable to move, he screamed for help, but with the nearest neighbor a quarter-mile away, it was his golden retriever Kelsey that ran to his side. The temperature dipped to freezing, but Kelsey stayed by Bob, barking for help and licking his face and hands to keep him warm. The 64-year-old lost consciousness, but Kelsey's howling eventually got the attention of a neighbor, who finally discovered Bob 20 hours later. He was rushed to the hospital, where a doctor performed emergency surgery to save him. Now recovering nicely, Bob claims he owes his life to two heroes, his dog and his doctor.
Lost German Shepherd sees family looking for new dog at shelter. This pooch hasn't had the easiest life so far, and her story just got even more heart-wrenching. Not too long ago, the 2-year-old German Shepherd was out in the yard of her family's California home when for some reason she hopped the fence. The neighbors living next door weren't too thrilled and called animal control to have her taken away. Sitting and waiting in a pen at the shelter, the young dog's eyes lit up when she saw her family walk by. Her family came over to talk to her and pet her through the fence. As you can see in this video, she was undeniably ecstatic about going home. If only that were the case. In a dastardly twist, her owners told staff at the shelter they actually came by looking for a new dog. Apparently, the dog's father had recently passed away, and she'd been crying ever since. Her owners were tired of listening to her whimpering and figured the best thing to do was to leave her at the shelter and find a new pet instead. A sad tale, no doubt, but this pup's days may be looking up. Renamed Zuzu after the daughter in the classic Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, the Downey Animal Care Center staff intend to make sure, from now on, she gets to enjoy exactly that. After her story was published to Facebook last week, messages from all over the country have been pouring in from people dying to offer Zuzu a new forever home. Looks like it just may be a wonderful life after all, huh, Zuzu?
Who's a good boy? Man's best friend came to the rescue of a drowning deer on Sunday, but it took a few more good Samaritans to really keep Bambi out of the water. Mark Freely and his dogs were walking along Long Island Sound when his golden retriever spotted the fawn and immediately leapt into the water. The dog, named Storm, swam out and gently grabbed the deer by the neck before doggy paddling all the way back to shore. A video clip of the rescue shows the heroic golden retriever nudging and pawing at the fawn to make sure it was okay. Freely immediately called an animal rescue center to check out poor Bambi, who was alive but exhausted.
Storm! Leave him, Storm! Storm! Storm, it's okay! Storm, leave him, okay? Good boy, Storm. Good boy. Good boy, Stormy. Good boy, Storm, okay? Good job, boy. Good job, boy. She's okay. She's okay.
But before they could even get to the fawn, she up and ran straight back into the water after being startled by the dogs. Left with no choice, rescuer Frank Floridia jumped in for rescue number 2. The fawn had gone further out into the water and was struggling to keep her head above the surface. Luckily, Floridia saved her just in time. The animal was covered in ticks and had an eye injury, but is now happily resting at an area rescue center. Bambi's set to make a full recovery in a few months, after which she'll be reunited with all her woodland creature friends. Who's a clever boy then? This dog proved he's smarter than your average pooch when he broke out of his kennel earlier this week and wandered off into the night. The 10-year-old Great Pyrenees named General was lodging at an animal hospital in Stafford, Virginia, while his owners went to Virginia Beach on vacation. And as you can see from the footage, perhaps he wanted out so he could go join them. At around 4:15 a.m. on Monday, General busted out of his temporary accommodation, then opened at least 4 different doors in his heroic bid for freedom. He'd been staying at the animal hospital for the previous 2 nights, but clearly had had enough. Here we see the 124-pound dog making his way down a hallway, then sniffing around an office area. If General looks familiar with the surroundings, his owner said that's because the clever canine had been visiting the hospital for the past 10 months. Finally, General uses his mouth to open a door that leads him outside to a parking lot. Then off he went into the night. Around 3 hours later, hospital staff discovered General was missing and called his owners. The search for the dog went on for most of Monday. He was eventually found at 9 p.m., around 17 hours after he went missing in action. General was sitting in the garden of a nearby home, happy to be in the great outdoors and out of his cage. The dog's owners cut short their vacation to search for the beloved pet, and they were eventually reunited. So who's a clever boy then? Massively adorable UK dog weighs over 200 pounds. Meet Yogi, or Bear, as he's appropriately known, in his hometown of Gainsborough, Lincolnshire. Funny story, his owner, Sue Markham, actually told her husband, who didn't want a big dog, that he was a Jack Russell when she bought him. But when he didn't stop growing, the jig was up.
When I brought him home, I told my husband that he was a Jack Russell, a Jack Russell puppy. And then, of course, he started growing and growing, and the joke was gone then. Yeah, he's grown exceptionally big. We didn't imagine he would be this big.
As a puppy, he weighed a little over 1 pound. But now this Boston Great Dane weighs an astonishing 210 pounds and stands at 36 inches tall when on all fours. How on earth do you manage to walk this guy? The 9-year-old's weekly food intake costs around $60 and in addition to dog food, includes minced beef, eggs, sausages, rice, yogurts, bananas, and even ginger biscuits. Now that's one hell of a food intake for one extra large pooch. Maybe you should try some doggy Zumba to shed some of those pounds.
Former Playboy playmate takes her obese dog on first-class flight. Hank the dog is treated like a king by his owner, Carrie Whitman, an interior designer and Playboy Playmate of the Month from February 1988. According to Hank's Instagram account, Carrie, who founded the Beverly Hills dog rescue program called Ace of Hearts, rescued the obese dog from an animal shelter in Los Angeles. Carrie and Hank were spotted at the Los Angeles International Airport, with Carrie pulling Hank in his cart. Hank is obese and has an illness that means he can only move with the aid of the cart, but he still gets the royal treatment and lots of attention from strangers. When traveling with Carrie, he travels first class all the way, including his own seat on board the plane. Nicknamed Hank the Tank for his large size, he is Carrie's support dog and can detect seizures. The picture of him boarding the American Airlines flight at LAX has gone viral, so keep an eye out for this big old dog on your next trip. Madeline Doe, who snapped the picture of Hank and Carrie, followed up by tweeting, "I'm just glad my legacy on this site will be a photo I took of an obese dog boarding a plane."
Family raises money for dog with backwards legs. Rexy the Golden Retriever started off her young life just like every other puppy, running around and playing. But at about 10 weeks of age, The California couple who owns her noticed her walking with a strange limp. Over time, that limp developed into a mysterious condition that had Rexy's legs winding backwards, leaving her front legs without any functionality and her walking around on two. Doctors have not been able to diagnose the dog other than to call it a neurological problem. Rather than have her put down, her family has set up a GoFundMe page to raise $20,000 for a solution. Until then, she seems content to get around with what she's got, which isn't much. Maybe we could all learn a little about overcoming adversity from Rexy.
Dog missing nearly 2 years found safe near Lake Tahoe. A couple whose golden retriever ran off scared after hearing a gunshot in Tahoe National Forest in November 2012 has been found safe. Murphy, the 5-year-old golden retriever, was on a camping trip with her owners, Nathan and Aaron Braun, when the gunshot scared her off. The Brauns tried chasing her, but the dog could not be found. In the hope of finding Murphy, the Brauns set up a Facebook page with photos of Murphy and asked people to post dog sightings. This past month, at a French Meadows Reservoir campsite, about 5 miles from where Murphy was lost, a dog of her description was seen. So, the Brauns drove out to the site to leave Murphy's blanket and Nathan's ball cap, and the dog began sleeping on these items. Eventually, the dog was lured into a kennel, and the Brauns drove out to retrieve the dog. The dog is much skinnier and looks a bit different than the Murphy the Brauns lost, but they say they are 99% sure their Murphy is now safe at home.
Man saves his dog from gator attack. A golden retriever is recovering from an alligator attack at Florida's Melbourne Beach 2 weeks ago. Lee McDougall, the dog's owner, said the 8-foot alligator grabbed his dog Willow while they were out walking. McDougall and Willow were out when the dog decided to go for a swim in the swamp side instead of the lagoon side. That's when the 8-foot gator grabbed the dog. McDougall ran over to grab her, but ended up grabbing the gator instead and jerked him up. When Willow was loose, McDougall let the gator go, but he was stuck in the mud. He turned around and pushed Willow up onto the bank, and then got himself out as well, before the gator could come back for seconds. They walked back home through the wild brush, and then went to the veterinarian. Willow received more than 25 stitches and some deep puncture wounds, but is recovering.
Dogs on a motorcycle, super cute or animal abuse?
Oh, hello. มันขึ้นเลยนี่ มันขึ้นเลยนี่ ถ่ายวิดีโอเลยโอ้เป็นไงครับโอ้ยสุดยอดโอ้โหเนาะโอ้ตัว
Great Dane barks up the wrong tree. Cora is an 120-pound or 54-kilo Great Dane who lives in Nebraska. Cora also apparently suffers from some sort of species dysphoria, and this cute, not-so-little fella went full feline on Saturday. Imagine the call.
Fire department, my Great Dane is stuck in a tree. Yeah, no, this isn't a joke. Seriously, she's stuck. Yes, I said Great Dane. Yes, she is a dog.
Skeptical firefighters arrived and found it was 100% true. Cora had evidently chased a squirrel or something, jumped over a 5-foot fence, and got herself stuck on a tree branch some 20 feet off the ground. A Facebook post from the Plattsmouth Volunteer Fire Department says the initial plan was to get a leash on the cold, scared doggie and get owner Wes McGurrick to try to guide her down. Didn't work. On to plan B. Lower the dog out of the tree with some kind of harness, firefighter style. Wisely, however, the rescuers had a team on the ground holding out an outstretched tarp to catch Cora if she fell, which she did. Harmlessly landing on the tarp and then walking away like, what, can't a girl climb a tree these days? Shh, thanks, Obama.
Firefighters said they were very pleased all ended well, and that the time we got a Great Dane out of a tree story is going to be one they tell for many moons to come. Let's just hope Cora learns to love herself as a plus-size dog and finds a more down-to-earth hobby.
The driver risks it all in order to film selfie with his beloved dog. This bloodhound's learned that a good way to cool off in Henderson, Kentucky is to stand at the front of a Jeep and catch a mouthful of fresh air. But the cute dog aside, the driver's trying so hard to show the world his dog that he takes both hands off the steering wheel several times to move the stick. Here, he takes both hands off for at least 5 seconds in order to adjust the camera. I'm not too familiar with how things are done in Kentucky, but that's certainly not road kosher. Alright dude, we get it. Your dog is cute with half its face blowing off. Whew. Let's all breathe a collective sigh of relief now that he's done with the selfie stick. But I guess you have to admit, these are some pretty awesome captures.